Listen.
Hey, Mernagh.
Yep.
I've got Jodie and Jeremiah on the Skype here.
Excellent.
Oh, Mernagh didn't even know. Okay, this is better light at this angle. Is that okay?
Hey. Oh, I see. That's over there. We got to keep your head on cam.
That's all right. Hey,
you guys look great.
Not blocked, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt, what's up, man?
Jodie, how nervous were you
what's
with 3 MPs standing behind you with all those flags and everything? It looked very official today. How nervous?
Very official.
It felt official. I guess, yeah, I was nervous. I don't often get nervous, but I was. But I tell you, I'm so excited about what we got to do in the afternoon. I keep forgetting how awesome the press conference was. But we got to actually watch Prime Minister Harper squirm and be exposed as a liar. We got to go have special front seat access in the press gallery. Unfortunately, no photos or cameras allowed. Oh, I would have loved to have a photo of that. But we got to sit front row in the press gallery and watch as Mulcair did a very good job asking very pointed, simple questions to Harper. And Harper is all red and he's like angry, and you can see in his head he's just like, oh, I'm doomed. It was really fun. I really, maybe that's a bit of schadenfreude or whatever, but
with this guy, I think we're entitled to some schadenfreude.
After everything he's done to Canada and to us and to our movement, we're not allowed to heckle. We aren't allowed to yell. We weren't allowed to do a thing except sit there with the audio thing so we can hear them speaking, because they're all yelling at each other and stuff. But man, just being like, what was the distance between us?
Yeah, you're not that far. You're pretty, you're probably 40 meters.
Easily could have thrown something at him.
Oh, yeah. That would have been...
I applaud you guys for your restraint at not taking off your shoes and chucking them at his head. Because we know that's a popular one with terrible people these days.
That is...
We were boring our eyes into them.
Or acidic orange juice.
He doesn't look up, though. Like, he will not look up. He doesn't care who's sitting in the press gallery or the public. He doesn't even want to look them in the faces. It's only 1 hour. They only have 1 hour of question period a day. And it was like, you could see, it was like a student sitting in class just praying and praying for the teacher not to ask him any more questions. He just wants the clock to hit 3 o'clock so he can get out. And it was like, he was just like, man, I don't know. I like that. I like that a lot. The public doesn't get to change government, and we hardly ever get to even be near them. So the fact we got to sit in the House of Commons during the height of the scandal, I don't know. It was pretty exciting. And the polls show that they're doing very poorly. I don't want to say doomed for sure, but... And
everybody blames Harper. We were just watching a CBC poll, and it's 98% think that Harper should be the one responsible for this.
And only 14% of Canadians believe Harper's story, or 17%.
Yeah,
that's
true.
true.
Which is so refreshing to hear. I mean, as to like 4 years ago when everybody was just applauding everything he did. It's nice to see all of his treasonous actions coming to the forefront.
So, Jodie, we basically explained the situation Mark is in right now as there's a document that Minister Blaney, he just has to sign his name to it and fax it back to the White House.
He doesn't even fax it to the White House. He signs it and gives it to his assistant.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that simple. And right now, he's receiving paperwork, letters from people that he has to respond back to. And so he's willing to sign his name on all sorts of paperwork about it. Like this
one here.
Libby Davies, this is the original?
Yep.
She gave you the original?
She gave me the original,
oh my gosh.
I guess.
She gave you an original, like, Stephen
Libby
Blaney.
Davies letter signed by Stephen Blaney, the Public Safety Minister.
So,
Basically saying, thanks for writing about Mark, but the information is private. I can't share it under the Privacy Act. However, I'm able to share it with you because you're Libby Davies and you're a member of Parliament.
That's right, because she requested it.
Right, but please note that because this information is of a personal nature, it may not be shared with anyone without Mr. Emery's consent. So it's like, yeah, you even have the right to have this info, but I'm going to now say you can't have it just because I don't think the guy would like it. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
So he says he confirms Mark's application for transfer, but here's the problem, is that I don't think the minister's going to approve it because of the comments that he made. First of all, where they responded and said that, what was the first thing that it said? Oh, that you have to suffer the full force of the law if you break a crime or break the law or whatever. ridiculous because the law right now says that Mark has to be brought home. That's the law. That's the treaty. That's the agreement. And besides, we all know that Mark never went to the U.S. when he committed his crime, blah, blah, blah. So that whole thing is baloney. And then Minister Blaney says it seems like the opposition is less interested in jobs and Canadians than they are in promoting the drug trade.
That was right. We did see that quoted today. He was quoted as saying that the opposition is protecting the drug trade. But, I mean, it's a big opposition, too, right? So Libby Davies wrote a letter trying to speed the process up by saying, hey, members of the opposition, we're kind of keeping an eye on this situation. Can you get this job done? And the Conservatives are refusing.
It's very dry in Ottawa. Dry and cold. Ooh.
It's freezing here.
Yeah. Libby had written a letter before Mark was extradited and got 12 members of the NDP to sign that letter. That was back in 2009 or 10. We also had a letter in 2011 endorsing his transfer signed by like 30 elected representatives or something like that.
Right.
This time around, because initially we wanted to do the press conference, and that would mention petitions, a letter, a phone blitz, and it was like it's a live broadcast. I mean, it just started getting to be too much to mention. You only get 10 minutes in that press gallery, and I had 4 people, and they had the more important, heavy stuff to say. I talk about Mark all the time in the media and everything, so it was really about letting them speak, and they said some wonderful, awesome, powerful things, so I'm really pleased with that. But
I was very impressed, Jodie, with how the MPs handled themselves for the press conference. You had your own. Libby Davies is from your riding, I guess, where Mark runs Cannabis Culture headquarters. So she talked about you from a very personal aspect, and I thought that was very touching kickoff. You had the Liberal member of Parliament talk about how the act worked. And then
he's the public safety critic. Like, he's the guy who's allowed to criticize the public safety minister and say, you're not doing your job. So, and he also was able to represent the entire Liberal caucus. Another member of Parliament for the Liberals said, we're following the lead of our Wayne Easter and we're going to agree, and the caucus agrees. And even my own member of Parliament, Hetty Fry, finally responded and said she would support it too. She couldn't be there in person, but she'll sign the letter.
So, and then Elizabeth May spoke to, broke it down right in French, so
I don't know what she said, but I'm pretty sure it's good.
She was fantastic. I'm unilingual myself, but I do think that maybe the word poutine head was used. I'm not sure. May have called him a poutine head, but I was like, yeah. And then there's Elizabeth May just like, I'm going to speak to you in French because that's what I can do. And I was like, whoa, this is really amazing now.
It's really Canadian political if you have the French speaking.
Yeah,
have to get that translated.
Just called him right out in his own language.
Yeah, that is his preferred language. But I'll tell you, as we sat there in Parliament, in the House of Commons, watching question period, when all the members of Parliament are there, Stephen Blaney, you know, when he first got appointed Public Safety Minister, I thought, oh, here's a guy who plants trees and considers himself green and blah, blah, blah. So he's the first one to jump up and start clapping for Harper whenever Harper gives his spin or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, they always have that a couple guys that are quick. To put it in perspective, I always remember Health Canada used to give us stacks and stacks of stats of like how great the program was, and it was like, you know, 1,000% increase, just say, but it was like 100% increase between months and stuff. And I looked at Paul Lewin when we got it, and he was kind of nervous, and I said, well, we know these numbers are bullshit. And Paul said, well, how do you know? And I was like, if any program in Canada improved by 1,000%, the minister would be standing up in the House to pronounce it so someone could stand up beside her and cheer. There's always a lapdog. So you're saying Blaney's a lapdog?
I will say that the biggest laugh in the House of Commons was when Harper said the Senate operates independently, and we all know that nothing happens independently of the Prime Minister and his strong-arming, controlling tactics. So, yeah, he tells everybody what to do, clearly.
Yeah.
And that's the way he liked it. That's why, for anybody who's not following the Senate scandal, and I wish it wasn't called the Senate scandal, that's just like very handy for news media. The alliteration is fun. It's really a Prime Minister buyout cover-up scandal, payoff scandal.
It's a slush fund somewhere. The Conservatives have a slush fund somewhere.
They admitted. Even Harper was asked about that, and he goes, "Well, every party has money that they decide what to do with in certain ways." Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, this new the lawyer, the conservative lawyer, who's also thrown down a check now for Duffy. That's throwing some more wrinkles.
Yeah.
They have too many things to answer for now.
And with Harper, for so many years, he's made himself. He's been so controlling, and that's been his claim to fame, right? That he's very controlling, that he's able to get stuff done because he is, like, he's the boss man. He's the boss, and he's the top guy, and he's made that very clear as long as he's been in power. And then when there's scandals here and there, like the robocall scandal or whatever else.
I think they're connected, by the way.
There's lots of connections. But what ends up happening is with those things, he can say, oh, that was so-and-so, we fired him. Or, oh, that was so-and-so, we fired him. Or, oh, they did wrong, we got rid of them. This isn't a question about assistants or aides or, well, you know, that's part of the details. Really what the major question is how does this happen around you without your knowledge when everything happens with your knowledge? You are the control freak. You've made yourself that. So
either he's completely responsible or he's completely irresponsible in government.
Yeah.
You know, he's not doing his job. The 13 people plus some of his main guys around him were doing this stuff and all knew about it, and he didn't know, and he's the guy at the top sitting there in the dark, then he's a moron. Totally incompetent.
And, yeah, the alternative is he's lying and lying. And I'm telling you, that's what was so fun about being in the House of Commons today, was watching him sit there. He doesn't sweat. He doesn't rage. He was simmering. He was like, and he was deeply, deeply angry. It was like this deep rage I felt because he can't fix this. And he wants to fix it. And he wants it to go away, but he can't freaking fix it because the problem is he tried to fix the problem and it turned into this. And so any other further fixins is just more lies on top of lies. I mean, watching him mixing up names and mixing up, you know, whether he ordered them to repay or made them repay or paid them to repay. Like, he's all over the map, and it's so fun. It's so
Yeah, but Duffy
fun.
was supposed to take one for the team, and he never did.
Yeah.
Well, he originally did. That's the thing. And then now he's being thrown under the bus. He took it for the... He was taking the shit. He said, sorry, I took a loan out from RBC to cover the costs, and I'm a bad boy. But then at this point where they go, okay, well, now people are still angry, so we have to force the Senate, which operates independently, haha, just joking, but we're going to force the Senate to investigate you and fire you forever with no benefits and all that. So that's when the senators and Duffy, you know, they're all going, screw you.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. I was playing ball with your cover-up. I was going to have my cushy job for life when I lied and repeated your talking points and took your money. I did what you told me to, and now, just because the problem didn't go away, it's too bad. You're still going to screw me over? No, sir. That's what they're saying to Harper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Well, I guess we should wrap it up because I know you wanted to go for dinner.
But food.
I did want to end with, like, on a marked note on the press conference. How many months or weeks did it take to pull 3 MPs together to get them into the same room to come out and support you publicly in a press conference like that?
Not much, because it was about a month ago that I said to Mark, maybe I should, no, it was probably 2 months ago I suggested the idea to Mark, maybe I should go to Ottawa and hold a press conference. And originally it was just like a crazy idea. It's just like, why not go to Ottawa? Like, it was just a crazy idea. And then Mark was like, that's a good idea. Sorry, get Libby to do that. And then I knew Libby would be on board because she's amazing and she's always on board. She writes letters of support. She's been fantastic on this issue. I knew having Elizabeth May as a member of Parliament was very helpful because I supported the Green Party. I know her.
You've run as a candidate for the Green Party.
Yeah, I've run with,
They have a good contact there.
So that was a good contact. I was like, yes, she's in the House. That's awesome. I know that this woman is not afraid at all to speak how she feels. And then I thought, well, now I need a Liberal, and this is going to be tough because Justin Trudeau is kind of pissed off at Mark for, you know, all that news stuff.
Right.
But and I knew that the Liberals are on board with legalization, but I also know they're kind of uncomfortable with Mark, and this wasn't really a legalization issue. This is a Mark Emery Canadian citizen transfer home issue.
Right.
So I just kind of put out a few feelers towards a couple people just commenting on Twitter, if anybody knows an elected official, blah, blah, blah. And in fact, it was when Jeremiah was doing his show at Pot TV, I was sitting there, and Mark Elias of the Liberal Party East Vancouver
Riding Association.
He's the president there. He's had me speak for Liberal stuff and do some stuff before. He sent me an email. I just mentioned to him that I was
on the show.
Yeah, he was on the show, and I'd mentioned him off on the side, like, oh, I'm trying to get politicians, if you know anybody, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, yeah, sure. And then he actually sent me an email out of nowhere saying, hey, Jodie, here we go. I got you Wayne Easter. He's the public safety critic. He used to do the prison transfer approvals when we were in government. And it was an email where he had written to Wayne Easter and basically outlined that he knew about me and Mark and that he liked working with me on this stuff and he thought Mark should come home. And he asked Wayne Easter, could you please help support Jodie? And Wayne Easter wrote back saying, absolutely, I'd be happy to help. Let me know what I can do. Get me in touch with her. So Mark sent that to me, Mark Elias sent that to me and said, hey, I got you Wayne. And I was like, yes, that's so awesome.
Good guess.
So really, I sent a nice text message to Mark because I don't think I'd be able to do that on my own. Although I'm not, outrageous, I'm not, I do make some people nervous apparently. Joyce Murray of the Liberal Party, she was really nervous about an event. She didn't want to speak at when I spoke at it a year or two ago or whatever.
I make Joyce Murray nervous too. Don't worry about that. And so I'm really proud of you guys. You did real wonderful work. Jeremiah with the press badges. Jodie, you look fantastic. I don't know if you'll see the footage. I'm sure you will at some point. But it was great framing. And you guys all came across really well.
Oh, yeah, Jeremiah's got his badge here.
We managed to get 66 people in the chat, so that was good.
Nice.
That early in the morning, too.
Thank you, Matt, for promoting it so much, too. I want to say that as well.
And so we'll just end on I guess we talked about the mark earlier. We ended with that. And
yes, in fact, so here's the final closing note.
Yep.
Minister Blaney doesn't sound likely to approve Mark's transfer, even though I was tweeting at him like, hey, I'm in the press gallery and I want to talk to you, but I can't. Can you bring Mark home? Yeah. I think that made him uncomfortable after the fact, like, oh my God, you there? What?
Did he look at his phone?
No, because I tweeted right when it was ending, and he'll look at his phone when he leaves. But anyway, point being, still make phone calls, still send letters, still send faxes. Please continue asking him to transfer Mark, because the best case thing is Mark could start moving towards the Canadian border and then he can just finish his time in Seattle and come home right over the border next July. So that would be awesome. Please go to cannabisculture.com and freemark.ca and you'll find the info, but mostly cannabisculture.com. I haven't updated Freemark. He does all CC. I don't do Freemark, so.
There's lots of info out there.
There's lots out there. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being on
Thanks for having us.
Matt. Thank you so much for everything you did, promoting it and tweeting and everything, as always, Matt. I hope we see you soon.
We missed you today, buddy.
Well, I'll see you guys soon enough, I'm sure. It's wonderful work you guys all did today, and I'm real proud of the team out in Ottawa and ourselves. We all did real well. Great work today. And continuing, I'm going to wrap up with the political note as you guys go off to dinner. We will have on the Mernahuana Zone, we will have interviews with Toronto Centre by-election candidate NDP Linda McQuaig and Green Party candidate John Dervell have both agreed to sit down with me and be filmed, interviewed. So,
wow.
Yep, we're looking.
You're not that scary.
Yeah. So we're waiting for the Liberal candidate hasn't gotten back to us, but I'll try and pin her down tomorrow. So lots of politics are happening.
Pin her down or fatty down?
Pinner.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
I'm terrible. Okay, Matt, we love you a lot.
Love you a lot. See you soon.
Love you, Pod TV.